The Honda Stream is one of the most underrated and ignored cars in the Kenyan market. Welcome to 0 to 60 Motoring. Once again, my name is Bill Oturi, and today I'm going to review a 2009 Honda Stream. Very many people have been asking me about this car, so I'm excited to lay my hands on this car and tell you a couple of things. If new around, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on our social media platforms so that you don't miss any of our weekly video reviews. If interested in purchasing a car, you can engage us to source a clean car for you under our car scouting program. We are going to get a car that meets your requirements, subject it to checks, and ensure that your car ownership journey becomes easy. That is the goal of 0 to 60 Motoring. So this generation of the Honda Stream was produced between 2006 and 2014. And what that technically means is that if you want to purchase a Honda Stream in Kenya, you can only purchase it as a local used car because there are no 2018 or 2019 Honda Streams. This car's production ended to pave way for the Honda Jade. Honda Jade is another interesting car that I should be bringing to this channel. Actually, there is a Honda Jade 1.5 liter turbo petrol that we scouted for our client a few weeks ago. In the near future, I'm actually going to feature it on our YouTube channel. So the Honda Stream is classified as an MPV. What does MPV mean? MPV stands for multi-purpose vehicle. When you look at this car, it is a long car that is meant to serve your family, especially if you need space. So when you look at the size of this car, the competition or the rival comes up in the form of something like the Toyota Wish. I understand people who are purchasing a Honda Stream may not be having aesthetics on top of the priority list, but it's a car, I'll say, that looks presentable to the eye. Majority of the Honda Streams in the Kenyan market, you are going to find them raised or using an aftermarket suspension, because the stock suspension of this car normally makes it to sit low to the ground, which could actually be scratching the underbelly of this car. But majority of these cars, you'll find them being like this one, which has actually been upgraded. This being an RSZ trim level, you're going to find that it comes with these 17-inch alloy rims. The Honda Stream is a very spacious car, especially for the front occupants and this middle seat. Of course, this car comes as a 7-seater, but even for someone who's not as tall, I'm actually having challenges with my knee room here. While this car has a third row seat, this space is actually meant for kids or those people who are vertically challenged. This is the interior of this 2009 Honda Stream, and one thing is clear. It's not a fast interior, but this is not a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW 7 Series. Majority of people who are purchasing this car just want utility or functionality, so they are going to find this interior perfect for their needs. So when all the seats are in use, just like many MPVs or cars out there, you are not going to have any reasonable boot space. So for you to have some reasonable boot space in this Honda Stream, you actually have to lower these second row seats, and that is when you're going to have some meaningful boot space. In the Kenyan market, the most common engine you're going to find with the Honda Stream is a 1.8 liter, which is what I have here. Engine is called R18A, and it makes 140 horsepower and 180 Newton meters of torque, which is sent to the front wheels via a 5-speed automatic transmission. But in the market, if lucky, you can actually find a Honda Stream with an all-wheel drive configuration. Away from this 1.8 liter R18A petrol engine, the Honda Stream can also be found with a 2000cc that is called R20A petrol engine. So those are the two engines you are going to find with the Honda Stream. Many people will be purchasing a Honda Stream will be having reliability or dependability on top of their priorities. And when I look at the Honda Stream, this 1.8 liter R18A engine is what I normally call as indestructible or unkillable, because with good care, this is an engine that is going to rack up thousands of kilometers without skipping a beat. The song still continues to the 2-liter petrol engine. They are very reliable motors. You can count on them to deliver the job. When these cars are well kept, they never disappoint. That's why when someone tells me they want to purchase a Honda Stream, I'll tell them to proceed if they are sure that the car they're purchasing is in a good shape. Because if you purchase a Honda Stream that is in a very good state, this car can never disappoint you. My friend has a Honda Stream 1.8 liter with the same engine, and that car is now sitting at 390,000 kilometers without skipping a bit. This specific car I'm reviewing here today has a mileage of 220,000 kilometers, and from the way it drives, I can tell that there is some life left with this engine, and if it is going to be properly maintained, it is a motor that can actually click the upwards of 4,000 kilometers without skipping a bit. A challenge you may find with the Honda Stream is that sometimes you may spend more getting some of its body parts, because it's not a very common car like something like the Toyota Wish, but parts are still available. It's only that you may spend longer getting them. People who purchase the Honda Stream do so because they want a family car that can take them from A to B. Something that can take you to work from Monday to Friday and then haul your family to the church over the weekend. So in such a regard, performance is not normally a priority for those people. While performance is not a priority for very many people in this segment, the 1.8 liter Honda Stream doesn't disappoint. Of course, 140 horsepower and 180 newton meters of torque, those are not numbers that are going to break records, but it's among the most responsive 1.8 liter naturally aspirated motors you're going to get. For purposes of comparison, I'm finding this 1.8 liter to be more responsive than the 1.8 liter Toyota Wish. You have to put your foot down for this 1.8 liter to respond. But that's not a big surprise, because when you look at the power numbers of this car, it's not the most powerful car out there. Of course, if you want a little bit of grunt, the 2 liter is more responsive from my experience, but still, not many people are going to complain about the performance of this 1.8 liter. If anything, this 1.8 liter is one of the most responsive motors you're going to find out there. One thing I like about this car is that once it has gained those speeds, it doesn't really struggle maintaining them, especially when you are on a flat surface. That's why very many people have driven these Honda Stream with a 1.8 liter. They are going to tell you that it's a powerful motor or it's a very responsive engine. If someone is purchasing a Honda Stream, definitely fuel consumption at some point could be one of their priorities. If you drive the Honda Stream in a reasonable manner, this car can give you between 11 and 13.5 kilometers per liter. That is highway driving. In city driving, those numbers can actually drop. I've seen people saying that they can do the upwards of 15 or 16 kilometers per liter in this Honda Stream, but from my experience, I find those numbers looking a little bit ambitious. Even that 13 kilometers per liter, you only achieve it when the car is mechanically sensible and you drive like an old man. Driving like an old man basically means that avoiding aggressive acceleration and driving and racing other drivers on the road. Otherwise, your numbers will be 11 to 13 kilometers per liter. The ones saying 15, 16 kilometers per liter, those numbers are ambitious and you will never achieve them on a Honda Stream. In the Kenyan market, you are going to find the Honda Streams going for as low as 750,000 shillings for the earlier batches or those cars that may be needing some work. The last versions around 2013-2014 actually click over 1 million shillings. You are going to realize that the Honda Stream is actually cheaper than the Toyota Wish. When you look at this car, it is a spacious car, it is very dependable, and at least it stands out of the crowd if maybe you don't want something that is a little bit common. So when I'm looking at this car and the value for money proposition versus something like the Toyota Wish or even the Toyota Fielder, this car is highly underrated for what it brings to the table. Another thing you're going to love the Honda Stream for is the build quality, especially when you compare it to something like a Toyota Wish. I remember my uncle used to have a 2007 Toyota Wish, and he normally used to use it up country, and the wear and tear on that car was actually on a very high rate. So when I compare the Honda Stream with the Toyota Wish, this car actually has a better build quality. So the Honda Stream is a car I can highly recommend, and I'm going to summarize the Honda Stream in 3 terms: practical, reliable, and dependable. Those are the terms that perfectly describe the Honda Stream. That is a short review for this car. In case you have a question about this car or the rival, something like the Toyota Wish, you can call us or you can send them on our social media platforms. Bye for now, guys. I'll see you on the next one on 0 to 60 Motoring.